I'm Leanne Lee from divaofdiy.com. We create and write about all types of projects to help you transform the house you have into the home that you love. Today I am going to share what I would consider a life-changing project. This is actually, it's kind of embarrassing that I'm even sharing this with you, but this is a drawer literally out of my bathroom. How many of you have a drawer that looks like this? Or maybe it's your junk drawer, or maybe it's in your kitchen for your utensils and things. This is just a drawer in my bathroom, and it tends to be the stuff I use all the time, which the sad thing about that is that I'm constantly digging for the things that I need all of the time. And so, I tried this kind of stuff, which you think's a good idea. They're nice, they pull out, it's just a silverware drawer. The problem is, if you look at this, it doesn't fit. I mean, you put this in here and you put some stuff here, but then there's always all this extra stuff around. So then I find these, and these are pretty cool too, and you can hook them together, but they never fit perfect. So I can use a saw, I have some wood glue, and I have some clamps. I can fix this problem, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. We're making DIY drawer organizers, and so you will be able to custom make these for all of the stuff in your home. So I'm gonna pull out all of my stuff. Okay, once you get your drawer empty, if it's dirty, you can clean it out or whatever. But like I said, let me just show you this because I thought I was so ingenious using the silverware things. But do you see what I mean? It slides around. Then you start trying to put these in there. Well, then it still doesn't fit. Yes, you can get it over here, but you can't get two there. Do you feel my pain? So I decided to take matters into my own hands. So what I do typically when I'm looking to do a project is I'll go to the hardware store and I'll just linger from aisle to aisle. Some people do that in department stores. I do that in hardware stores. And initially, when I was thinking about doing these drawer organizers, I knew a couple of things. One, whatever material I used had to be thin because this isn't that big of a drawer. So the last thing I wanted to do was take up an inch of space on all sides. Especially if you're going to put dividers in it, you're losing valuable space. So the first thing that came to my mind was lattice. And if you've seen me, a lot of times I did a map drawer dresser where I used lattice strips. So if you're not sure what lattice, I don't mean the lattice when you're thinking about like for a trellis or like the bottom of a deck. Same strips, but they're individual strips and they're 1 inch wide, but they're very thin. And that is what I was bound and determined I was going to use. So it was 50, 60, 70 cents a foot, okay? That was what I was gonna use. And then I decided I would keep meandering along, and I ended up in the decking area where they have all the deck supplies. And I found these beauties. Do you see these? Thin, looks like lattice, made out of cedar. They're called cedar fillet strips. Just stuck up, okay. Cedar fillet strips, 97 cents for an 8-foot section. You would have thought I had hit the lottery.
I was with her for
yeah.
sure.
Was I like jumping up and down?
Was.
I was so excited. It was like a dream come true. So of course, the Home Depot by me now doesn't, they've probably restocked by now, but I bought every one they had because I knew I wanted to do this. So this is how they come. Let me see what it says, and that is exactly, it's called Lath, and it's called an 8-foot fillet strip, just so you know.
Made in Canada for all you Canadians out there.
And it's cedar, so it's a little tad bit rough, but we just slid a piece of sandpaper across it and it did absolutely fine. Okay, so that's what I'm using. I'm also going to use this, it's Elmer's Wood Glue Max. I've used all of the other glues out there. I'll tell you what I like about this particular one for what we're doing, and you'll see as I start to do the project, it's extremely thick, and it almost gives a slight bond initially that will hold it together when we go to clamp it. So my objective for this project was to not use any nails because these are so thin, I was worried about cracking it or splintering it, okay? And then the only other thing that we're gonna need is clamps, okay? Just adjustable clamps, and they need to be wide enough, wider than your drawer, so that you know that you'll be able to clamp your inside piece, okay? So that's the only things we need. Well, and a tape measure and a pencil, but okay. So the first thing you wanna do, and we are literally gonna make one from scratch. So get your notepads out, because we're going. All right, the first thing I want you to see is, here's my piece of hardware. You notice that the hardware is attached here with these two screws. I wanted to measure my drawer insert so that I didn't always have to take the hardware off if I wanted to pull it out and clean it. So when I measure this, I'm going to take into consideration that I want to leave a little bit of give. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, but I don't want to have to unscrew these to put my insert in and to take my insert out. So I'm going to leave a little room. So right here, I am at 17 inches is the length of my drawer. So I am going to do 16 and 7/8 is what I'm going to start with, and we're gonna make our two vertical pieces first, or our two long pieces first. So I pull my little strip out here, and I'm going to do 16 and where was I? 16 and 7/8. Okay, and we'll do two of those. Where are my goggles? Yep. Right over here. Okay. For those of you who have not seen any of my projects, this is my favorite little handy saw. It's not one I would use to build a house. It's not one I would use to build big pieces of furniture. But if you're doing little projects like this is a portable saw, and I love it. It's a 7 1/4 inch, so it's small. Put my safety goggles on, and I'll move this stuff out of the way so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm gonna have to go this way, Terry, because of the wall. So it's in your way a little bit, but so I've got my mark here. I've got a laser right here, so this laser goes right across that. So it tells me exactly where I'm gonna cut, all right? Now, before I go ahead and cut the other one the same length, I want to make sure that it's going to fit and that I didn't mismeasure. And this should be just about perfect. See, we've got a little bit of give here, which will allow for these screws. We'll be able to pass those and not have to worry about taking them out. So, okay, so now I'm going to cut this second one. Make sure that they're even, and they are, but let's make sure they fit. All right, so that's the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and lay them in there. Now we're going to measure from inside to inside.
With the board in there.
With the board in there. So you're not measuring this, you're not measuring the drawer, you're measuring with the board in, because that's gonna give you your exact measurement. And I am seeing 11 1/2. If you are unsure, always cut too big, because you can always make it smaller, but you can't add length to the board after you cut it. So I am showing 11 1/2. So I will cut one 11 1/2, and we'll see how that does. So we're just going to mark. We'll do our half mark here. Take it over to the saw. So I'm going to just take this. I could measure it again, but since I know that this is the measurement, I usually cheat and do it this way. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's how I've always done it, and it always has seemed to work out for me. All right, so let's make sure we're good. And look at that. It's going to fit perfectly with a little bit of a gap here. Remember for that. Now, if you don't want to have that gap, it's going to fit underneath it. So just remember that you would just have to remove these if you choose to do it that way. All right. So the first thing we have to do, and I'm going to take these off because I have so much paint splatter on them, I can hardly see through them anymore. So now the first thing we're going to do is glue this box together. And that's really important for several things. One, you'll never be able to clamp all of these pieces. Well, actually, we did do that, didn't we, Terry? But one thing, you need to make sure that the box fits, right? Who wants to go through all the trouble of doing it and then the box not fitting inside the drawer? So we just want to make sure that it all goes together. So I'm laying these pieces down. These pieces, remember, go on the inside. So I'm taking my heavy, thick wood glue. One thing about, you're going to see me like straining because it does come out very thick. But one thing I love about it is it's waterproof, which for a bathroom or a kitchen, I think is super important. Okay, so we're just, oh, that was a good trick, Terry. So Terry had this idea that if I would store this upside down, then I wouldn't have to push it as far. It'd already be kind of ready. It's kind of like ketchup. Now that ketchup's upside down now, I'm kind of putting it on a little bit thick like this. But the nice thing is it's not going to expand. If you've ever used Gorilla Glue and done a project and then you come back after it's dried and it's like expanded and foamed out the sides, this won't do that, okay? So then I'm going to just put it right on the edge. And this is what I was saying. One thing I like about it, because it's so thick, it holds in place while I do the other one. Now, by no means is that a substitute for clamping it, because we'll want to clamp it tight, but it will at least hold it, especially if you're doing projects by yourself. This is just a good little tip to hold that together. Okay, so then we're going to slide this other one in. Okay, so now I'm going to take my clamps. If you've never used a clamp, you should invest in these. These are something we use quite a bit because we're cabinet refinishers, and so anytime you have like a little bit of your, maybe a piece of your cabinet or your laminate has popped up, or your drawer has come undone, or legs for a piece of furniture or something, and you glue it, you need that tightness for it. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to lay it down this way so you can see it, is you just take it as far as you can on its own, and then there's a little lever here that just kind of, it's like a little hydraulic that just kind of pushes it together. Okay, and then I'm taking this little lever and just pushing it. Doesn't take much because this is, you know, we're not trying to bow the board. It's a thin board. So see, now we'll just leave this till it dries. It'll probably take, I think this particular one says, let dry 24 hours before sanding and finishing it, however you're going to do it. All right, so here is what this would look like. You would just set it off to the side, maybe make all of your boxes one day, and then come back and do that the next, and then do the insides the next day. So I'm going to just slide this over. The main reason you want to make your box first, because even if you had somebody to help you, you could do it. You've got to make sure that the box fits inside of your drawer ahead of time, because it's way easier to shave some off now. You could break it apart and go on. There's nothing worse than building it all and it not fitting. We have a box already finished, because if not, we would like be totally stuck right now, right? Okay, so we're gonna make sure that this fits in there. I'm kind of nervous. I hope it fits. So you just slide it in. You all know I would have tested it first, right? So now we can start doing the inside part. So, here is the way I would do it. Find the things that you're planning on putting in the drawer, whether it's, if you've got a toothbrush, you know, if you want some lotion. I don't know if you guys use these, but I love these little toothpick things, but they get all over, so I want a spot. I mean, if I'm making my own, I should be able to put stuff where I want, right? Q-tips, I should be able to make my own little places for them. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Oh, I gotta have my deodorant. And what else do I need? So this is a pretty good indication of how I would probably, lay things out. So I'm envisioning then, if this is kind of what I'm going to do, I know I need 2 long ones here. I mean, this could really probably go over here. So, don't get so caught up in this. Okay, so since I know I want 4 across here, I know that I need, and really this is how it's visually easy to do. I know I want these 4 things across, so I know I need 1, 2, 3 spacers this way, okay? So we need to make them, now they're not going to be this length, remember, because they're going to be inside to inside. So I'm going to make 3 long ones, and each one is going to be 16 3/8 is what I'm getting. That's what I'm going to start with, 16 3/8. And I need 3 of them. I'm going to test it first and make sure it fits. You know what? I'm going to say that's a little short because I want it to fit even though I can probably clamp that together. I think it needs a little bit of a tighter fit. So what did I tell you? You can never increase the length.
So don't do as she says.
But don't throw it away because we'll use it for our little cross pieces. But I'm going to make this one a little longer. All right, so let's try this. All right, now we need to take a little bit off. Once we get one, we'll be able to get the other 2. All right, so see, the fact that it'll stand up on its own tells you it's about the right fit because all we're going to do is sandwich glue in here. So now I need to make 2 more of these. These are my 3 that are going to go across here. Let's make sure they all fit. Because I think I want to put this here, I'm going to cut this one down, and it will actually connect to the one going across. So I'm going to slice this one down. Does that make sense? I'm going to slice this one down, and there'll be one that goes across so that I can put my big thing here. If I'm making it custom, I want my things to fit in it. So I'm just going to cut this one down a little. So what I'm actually going to do then is measure a piece, for example, pretty darn close right there. So it will go like that. Does that make sense? And then that way I can put that in there. So like this one, if I want to make these small, I could do it like this. So then the Q-tips would fit there. So then I'm going to put one here. I mean, I just don't want and I just do this kind of by eyeball. You can measure those, but it's really hard to touch them because they're not glued in yet. All right, so that's going to go there. And I think I'll just put one here and one here. So we'll cut our measurement. So I'm just snipping there. Okay, I'm done with my cutting now. What I would do before you glue it all together is take a light sanding to it because it's going to be extremely hard to do that after everything is glued together. So I would just take each piece out. It's not going to take much at all. You're basically just, kind of smoothing out that rough edge. And then just put it back so you know where it is for right now until we go to start gluing. All right, so now they're all sanded. I had already sanded my box because it was dry a couple days ago. So now we're just ready to start gluing. So we're gonna need our clamps. So you're just gonna start doing, go ahead and do sections at a time, if that makes sense. So things that connect to each other. I'm just gonna glue all of these in before I start clamping, okay? Make sure I got it all where I want it and everything matches up. It's okay if the glue will sand, so if you get too much on it, I usually try to wipe it, a little bit of it off, but you'll be able to sand it off if you need to. I'm gonna just start clamping in major intersections. So I'm hoping I can use one here.
Do you want it? Okay, you don't want it at the crossbar.
All right, and then this one spins.
Yeah, so she has a couple different kind. One.
Yeah, so this one,
spin.
and I don't know that one's any better than the other. This goes like this, and then it just spins to tighten up. The other one was more of a squeeze lever. Okay, let me move this drawer out of the way. So this one will hold these two tight. Now we've got to worry about all these crossbars. All right, so that's tight. Now we're going to go to this intersection. So this lever, and you'll see sometimes it's you putting the pressure different directions. Okay, so
Look at
that is our little contraption. We call it's like a mouse trap, right? And so we would let that dry overnight, and then you would end up with something like this, and every one is a little bit different. So this is one that I had sanded and glued. Let me show you what the glue, see this is actually the top, but let me show you, here's the bottom where that glue is. So you can sand it right off. It's gonna be my bottom side. I did clean these off well. So I'm gonna show you.
So this is before painted.
Before, make sure it fits. Now, I don't know why I picked that one to put in there instead of this one. Here's one, same thing, different configuration, and I just spray painted it. I used heirloom white. It's just one of my favorite colors. It's the main reason I picked it was because it kind of blended in with my cabinet. If you have stained cabinets or wood cabinets, you could do a brown. Or just do something fun. I mean, you could put bright pink in there. I mean, they're your drawers, right? Do what you want with them. All right, so I'm gonna put this in. All right,
But
so
look at that, $1, guys.
here we go. There,
$1.
Yeah, it was about $1.50, wasn't it?
Okay,
Didn't we use?
maybe.
Yeah, we used a little bit over. We didn't use quite half of a second stick, so it was about $1.50. So that is my tip today for keeping organized. DIY drawer organizers. We'll say under $2 for each one. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Leanne Lee. See you next time.